In this video, we're going to talk about your value and the steps that you can take to have a business owner take you seriously as a sales consultant. Most people struggle to understand what a consultant is. You're not a closer, you're not a manager, you're not a marketer. You're a little bit of everything, and it can be hard to know exactly where to begin when communicating with a client so that they can see your value, especially if you've only ever been just a salesperson. So I'm going to share with you 5 secrets and exactly what you must do and not do to be able to get your first or your next sales consulting client. And for those of you guys who don't know me, hi. My name's Caleb. I've been a sales consultant for the last 2 years, and in my first 5 months made $194,000. Since then, I've made well over $500,000, and I'm making this video to explain exactly what I did and would do differently to be able to get to the place I'm at now much faster. It's these strategies that allow me to work with large brands like Hamza Ahmed, Deal.ai, Consulting.com, Acquisitions.com, and 33 other companies, even those outside of the info, product, and coaching space like industrial equipment and manufacturing. And so without understanding the things I teach you in this video, none of that would have been possible. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll explain exactly how you can get access to my under the radar client acquisition guide so you can go out and get your first or your next client without anybody knowing. So let's go ahead and dive in. Point number 1 is not appropriately gauging interest. Interest before intent. And what I mean by this is that you have to approach every conversation completely detached with nothing more than a desire to understand. We have a formal script for this inside of our full stack mentorship program, but what you need to know about this is that it's so important that you truly understand what someone's level of desire and intent is before you progress the conversation forward to you two working together. When this is done wrong, it's a lot like asking a girl out to dinner if you don't know her name or know anything about her schedule. You're just taking a shot in the dark. So don't put the cart in front of the horse. Really listen on the conversations that you have and understand if they have a desire to work with you. Number 2 is lacking certainty. You can cover up uncertainty by being enthusiastic. Many salespeople come to me starting their career as a consultant, never having done marketing, management, or leadership. And when they approach clients and start to talk about these topics, their voice grows soft because they haven't done it. See, clients can sense when you're not confident and will lose interest in doing a deal with you because of it. And the truth is, your ability to close a client has little to do with your actual technical ability, but everything to do with your believability. For example, one of our members, Desmond, had 3 clients, and despite being super qualified for them as a consultant, the conversations fizzled off shortly after meeting with him. We had a coaching call where we confronted the fact that he wasn't presenting himself with enough enthusiasm or perceived confidence in the things that he could do well, and his clients weren't believing him and lost interest in actually working with him. Because when you're speaking with a client, they're running a movie in their head of what will it be like if I'm working with this person, and if you seem very boring right out the gate, well, they're not going to want to work with you. So after fixing this, he was able to sign 2 clients and is now taking home over $7,000 a month working part-time, and he's currently in negotiations with a bigger client for a $10,000 a month price point, all because we shifted his energy with the same skill set. So say it with your chest. Point number 3 is being too specific too soon. When speaking with a client, it's important to know the efficiency metrics that they use to gauge success in their industry, but you must avoid making any promises as to how much of that metric you can influence. When speaking with potential clients, it's important to know the efficiency metrics that they like to use to gauge their success in their industry, but it's so important that you make no promises around how efficient you can get their business to be. For example, in industrial equipment sales, the average sales cycle will be anywhere from 14 to 30 days. Now, if I'm speaking with a client, I'm going to say that if you're outside of that KPI, we'll bring you into it. But I must avoid saying anything like we will bring you to a 30-day or a 14-day sales cycle. And the reason being is regardless of how nice your promise might be, there is almost always context about your client's situation that you don't have the insight on. And sometimes when you begin working with them, your expectations will get completely derailed by facts you didn't know. And the reason being is regardless of how impressive your promise might be, there's almost always context about your client that you're lacking. So any false assumptions made before working with them can quickly get wrecked by reality, and this will cause you to look very untrustworthy and make your clients not want to continue to work with you. So if you or your client starts trailing into the specifics of how something might work, pause that conversation and avoid making any promises. Number 4, and just like the one prior, it's getting too strategic too soon. Similar to the last point, it's very important that you don't collaborate with your clients on the how you are going to fix things inside of their business, but get aligned on what you are going to fix. For example, if I'm working with a client and there's a lack of lead nurturing prior to a sales call and after a sales call, I'm going to label and have a conversation around the topic of putting together a lead nurturing process and get buy-in with my client before we do it. But what I'm not going to do is explain the specific script, strategy, and things that we are going to use to fix this lead nurturing issue. And the reason being is that if you're a professional consultant with proven strategies and tactics, the last thing you want is your client modifying and changing what you know works. This will cause ineffective execution and lead to instances of failure, which will look bad for you and make your client trust you a lot less and not want to continue working with you. So for your own sake, do not collaborate on the specific how something is going to get done, but get very good agreement and alignment on what needs to be fixed. And number 5, this is the deadliest one of them all, but it's prioritization. When you are working as a consultant, you are a leader, someone who is paid to give direction to help the business grow. And the moment that your client stops following you or refocuses your efforts and energy is when you begin to start losing value in the relationship. And this can snowball very quickly to a place where you're just an underpaid contractor, where your ideas aren't used and your opinions aren't respected, and you stay in a state of perpetual frustration. And this is something that happens all the time, and is not only the death for sales consultants, but any form of leadership dynamic. Often people aren't consciously aware when this dynamic shifts, but they can certainly feel it. So an easy way to prevent this is when you're working as a consultant, always keep a focused list of the projects and work that needs to be done by who and when. So that way you can control the pace that things are moving for you and the client. And if there's one thing that you should never stop doing, it is this: the allocation of others' resources and time. See, that in the simplest form is leverage, because if you're the person figuring out what people should be doing, then you're not the one doing, but you're the person constantly deciding and making the judgment calls. And that's why you are paid as a consultant, because there are things that you have seen and done that others have not experienced and they want to learn from you. And the only way they learn that is you teach them. And the only way that you can teach them is by them listening to what you say and doing it. And when this is done properly, you don't need to take sales calls. You don't need to be overly involved in the business. You can show up a couple hours a week and still get incredible results for you and your client. This is what we like to call the consulting nirvana that almost everybody wants to get to. So if you made it this far in the video and you're curious on how you can get your first sales consulting client or your next one, first link in the description is going to take you to a free resource, the Under the Radar Client Acquisition Strategy. That's where we'll explain exactly what you need to do start to finish to be able to go out to the market and get your first consulting client without anybody needing to know, posting a ton of content, making your current employer suspicious of your whereabouts. If you found this video helpful, drop a like so other people can see it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.